Hello, friends and family. Welcome to the ELI New York Focused Grammar Lesson Series. Like he said, brought to you by the CUNY College of Staten Island. My name is Teacher Robert Faison, and I'm from New York, in New York. And we're going to begin. Today, we're going to learn about the important characteristics of simple sentences. And let's get started. I'm going to post up what we're actually going to learn right here. It's just simple answer. It's rhetorical. Is well, what is a sentence? And a sentence is a group of words which have three important characteristics. Today, we're going to go over two of those characteristics, and the next class we're going to go over the third, but I'm going to tell you all three of them today. A sentence is a group of words which have three important characteristics. A sentence must express a complete idea. A sentence must also have a subject and a verb. And last but not least, a sentence must have meaning, okay? Today, we're going to focus on the complete idea and the subject and the verb. And when you come back, we're going to talk about the breakdown of what the different types of sentences which exist in the English language, okay? So the first question that we have after what is a sentence is the breakdown is, what is a complete idea, okay? So simple sentences always express a complete idea. One example is, let's take a look at this. Big New York City is A. Sure, this is a group of words, but is it expressing any meaning? Not exactly. It doesn't really say anything. Big New York City A, it doesn't express a meaning, so therefore it's not a sentence. But if we rearrange it a little bit, let's see what we have. Okay, watch this. New York is a big city. Now we get to know the size of New York from this sentence. What is New York? New York is it's big, and it's a city. So that's how we know that a sentence is a sentence from giving us information. It's conveying the meaning, and therefore it is a sentence. All right, so a sentence will include a writer's intent, understanding, perspective, or opinion about a subject. Now, let's remember one important rule. A sentence should always have a verb, okay? So, all right, here we go. Let me skip that and go here. All right, so the next question is, well, what is a subject, okay? Since a sentence must have a subject and a verb, the first thing we're going to look for is the subject. So the subject of the sentence is what the sentence is about, okay? But there are two different things. Sometimes a subject is singular, meaning it has one meaning, and sometimes a subject is plural, meaning it has more than one meaning. Let's look at this example that I set up for you. Let's make sure I got this up. Okay. Here we go. Let's look at this example. Robert, that's me, lives in New York City. So Robert is a singular subject. We look at another sentence. My neighbors moved to New York City. My neighbors is the subject, and this is a plural subject because I have multiple neighbors. It sounds pretty simple so far, right? All right, let me see. All right, good to go. And the next one is this. Sometimes we have compound sentences. Let's take a look at this. So if we have a compound subject, that means that the subject, there's two or three subjects together in one sentence. So let's take a look at this one. Do I have this up? Yes. Madison Square Garden and the Empire State Building are in New York City. So we're talking about two different subjects. One, Madison Square Garden, and two, the Empire State Building. Two important things, which I hope when you visit New York City, you must come see once this whole interesting situation is all over. And we have one more sentence that we're going to look for. Okay, another example of let's take this off. Compound subject is the furniture and paintings will arrive at my New York City apartment tonight. Okay? In this sentence, the subject is a compound subject, which is the furniture, which is one subject, and paintings, which is the second subject. The next sentence we're going to go over is this. All right, where are we? Okay, so watch this. The next question is, what is a verb? So a verb is usually an action. That's what people are used to when we talk about verbs, something that someone does. But a verb is usually an action, but sometimes it's just a state. Now, when we get further into doing this series, we're going to understand more of what a state is, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint here. Okay, let's see, here we go. And let's look at our first sentence. Example, the Twin Towers collapsed. You see here that collapsed is in the past tense. Okay, that's cool because that gives us the meaning of time of when something happens. The sentence is talking about the 9/11 terrorist attack, which happened in the United States. Specifically, New York is probably the biggest example that everyone remembers what happened during 9/11. And the sentence specifically talked about the two airplanes which crashed into the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center. But in New York City, because I'm an average New Yorker, I keep calling it the Twin Towers. So local New Yorkers call it the Twin Towers. Globally, it's known as the world, or was known as the World Trade Center. Now they have a museum and a park, magnificent, that you can come visit when you come to New York City. All right, so let's look at another sentence that talks to us about a verb. Ooh, here we go. Robert isn't in New York. Can we take away my background so it can look like I'm not from New York? Yeah, so now I'm not from New York anymore. So in this sentence, the verb isn't is not an action. This is called a state because I'm not doing anything. It's just a state of being, okay? And this sentence is present tense, okay? Let's go for the next one. So let's look at another sentence because this is a nice sentence breakdown. Okay, just like subjects, sometimes we have compound verbs, and we're going to look at compound verb sentences. This is when they have more than one verb. So let's go. This first sentence just talked about collapsed and isn't. This sentence right here, I went out and bought a New York pizza. Okay, we don't usually call it a New York City pizza. We just call it a New York pizza. So in this sentence, went out and bought are the two verbs in the sentence, meaning it has compound verbs. Okay, so I think, is this almost over? Yeah, so let's do a little recap because that was it. And a nice simple thing, just to get to know what subjects are, along with compound subjects, what verbs are, along with compound verbs, okay? So just to recap on what a simple sentence must have, a simple sentence must express a complete idea, and a simple sentence must have a subject and a verb. I would love to thank you all for being here now, but we have any questions? We might have some questions right now. Let's see. Talk a little bit about New York City. Right here behind me is Times Square. Even now, while we're under this quarantine situation, there may not be anyone on the streets, but the lights are still blaring because New York is also known as the city which never sleeps, and there's always lights on. So it's missing the people, but it still has the bright lights, and we're still a big city. I'd like to thank everybody for blessing us with your presence. And, think about New York, think about ELI, think about the College of Staten Island, and think about Robert Faison when you think about English. Bye.
Ciao.